So this is not my normal way of doing this, but I've gotten an inkling, let's put it that way, that this would be better. But I'm not real practiced at this, but you've always been so gracious to me. I mean, I've never given a sermon until I came here. So you may have to continue to be gracious to me as I attempt to figure out how to do this with any kind of ease. So, how much Halloween candy do we need to buy? How much candy is enough for the kids to collect? How much is too much? We ask this often. Too much? Too little? When I lived in Lake Bluff, which was frankly Mecca for trick-or-treaters because of the kids in North Chicago, and Waukegan came to us, so it was huge. I sent Paul to the store 3 separate times to get more candy during the trick-or-treat hours because nobody was leaving my house with too little. Nope. When I was a kid, we used to come home from trick-or-treating and we had quite a lot of candy. And we would dump our bags on the living room floor and sort very carefully according to type. And then we were required to give as much as we could bear to our mother, who was going to take it to the hospital for the pediatric patients. Because then candy was a gift, not a toxin. And that was my first foray into philanthropy. The gifts were meant to be shared. We are in the season of giving. The pumpkin patch, Halloween, and stewardship. We are in the season of bounty, gratitude for the harvest, a time to receive, as it says in that old grace, bless us, O Lord, and these thy gifts, which you are about to receive from thine infinite bounty. Infinite bounty. God does not calculate in terms of how much. God rains grace and gifts infinitely. Now there's a term that's new to me, and it's called stewardship call, which invites us to think critically, to discern how each one of us wants to be in the world. How do you want to be in the world? We are all called to steward the gifts, talents, blessings, and resources we have been given by God, which is all of them. Now, we tend to think of church stewardship as financial, pledging money. But Dan has taught us to expand our thinking. To be stewards is never to ask how much is too much or how little is too little. For we are to emulate God's generosity, which is never measured by the yardstick of too much or too little. God gives abundantly to each and every one of us. And all God asks in return is that we use all we've been given to increase the world's gladness. A stewardship call bids us to wonder, what shall I do with this one precious life? How shall I make manifest and use all the talents, skills, resources, blessings, pain, and lessons abundantly? Do I want my gifts to be closely guarded? Do I want to be in the world sparingly, prudently, or extravagantly? We tend to think of stewards as carefully, cautiously tending resources. To be good stewards of corporate funds is to use them sparingly. But for faithful people, stewardship means developing and contributing all our resources for the glory of God and of creation. Not to hoard, not to store up, not to dole out carefully, cautiously, prudently, but to give and not count the cost. For to count is to lessen us. We are made by and for generosity. That's the descant, the tune, the melody of our stewardship call. To live, to lavishly steward our resources and our blessings. We have been given a life and meant to live it fully, expansively, lavishly. I recently heard an Anglican priest say that the Anglican Church, which does include the Episcopal Church, is absolutely clear on our moral imperative, social justice. But he said, we've lost the sense of home, of creating a secure sense of where we belong, where everybody knows your name, but also expects to see you and misses you when you're absent. And that rings really true for me. I think we are really, really good at feeding the hungry. And not only those experiencing food insecurity, but everyone. We have food at every single event at St. Gregory's. There's even a section on our website called Feasting Together. And we're the pumpkin church, and pumpkins are food. I also think this community is exceedingly welcoming, yet the world is full of lonely people. People who don't feel attached or that they belong, don't feel their presence is essential. And belonging means, if absent, somebody's going to give you a call or a text. But I find myself of two minds. Many evenings, frankly, I'm kind of bummed to eat alone. Yet on the evenings when I've been invited out and the time comes to get ready, I so don't want to go. I consider all the reasons I could call and say I can't come. But when I give myself a talking to, recognize I've accepted, they're expecting me, I've committed, I go and invariably have a great time. If, however, in those moments when I don't want to go, don't want to get ready, if I wasn't expected, if it was optional, I'd probably never go anywhere. But being expected means I matter. And as I matter, I feel a sense of belonging. I wonder, and I mean wonder, if we often err on the side of respect for personal choices at the expense of belonging. If it never really matters whether you come or not, then we're all kind of optional, which means we're kind of marginal. But if we know we're expected, awaited, if we know folks are looking forward to seeing us, then we are far more likely to go because we belong and the event will be lessened without us. How do we use our gifts, these amazing gifts that you have, for friendship, bridge building, grace bearing, empathy, and compassion, to build communities where every person is expected and will be missed if absent? And if absent, we'll get a call to see if you're okay. I wonder if our talents need to be used, stewarded, toward ensuring that those whom we know are not alone, not disconnected, not merely an optional pleasure. In our gospel this morning, Bartimaeus won't be thwarted by the crowd, won't back down. He wants in. He wants healing. Perhaps being Bartimaeus in this story is our lesson. Don't be dissuaded into being too polite, too reserved, too guarded. Don't be too shy. Reach out often. I know that this parish, you, have the talent and the gifts to be connectors. But I wonder if we need to amp this up to bring people together, to create alliances, bonds, friendships, even more intentionally. Who needs a call today? Who might feel lost, alone, unincluded, unexpected? Consider your stewardship call. How do you want to be in the world? That's the opportunity we have this season. Will you be most gratified to have been frugal with your gifts and blessings? Will you be proud to have lived lavishly? Or would you want most not to count the cost at all? To follow God's example of pure generosity always? What, where is the divine steward calling you toward right now? Amen.